Scott. How are you?
Hello, yes. Hey, how are you?
Hey, Scott. I'm having to change phones here. My battery's going dead here. Hold on.
Well, you know what? I'm having problems tonight, too. I've been knocked off twice, so if you guys talk to me in the next hour and I don't answer you back, it's redialing in. I don't know what's wrong with Blog Talk tonight, but it doesn't interrupt the show, so all's well. Scott, we didn't give you an intro, so it's all yours. Go for it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate
we did it early on, Scott.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. I appreciate you guys having us on. I really do. I appreciate it. I got that email from Bobby yesterday, and I was very happy to get that. I really appreciate it.
Well, you know, anybody well, first of all, thank you for your service. And, you know, you're doing some good work out there. Now, will you describe what your quest is and why you began this quest?
Sure. Well, the name of the organization is Disabled Americans for Firearms Rights, and basically we represent disabled people that so they can exercise their Second Amendment rights. Our main focus was to be 5 areas, and they consist of the introduction of firearms for self-defense to disabled Americans, also shooting sports programs and competitions for disabled Americans. Then we started to look at legislation that would impact Americans with disabilities that are also responsible shooters. Then we started to with the thing in Newtown, Connecticut. You see, we were actually founded in Connecticut. This is the same state that the tragedy in Newtown happened. And when the tragedy in Newtown happened, there was as horrible as it was, there was a lot of, understandably, a lot of legislation that was trying to be pushed through, like emergency certifications, things that we just don't want, for obvious reasons, but without going to votes and things like that. So we did decide to ramp up our legislative action a little faster than we would have normally. But that's where we are right now. We're very concerned with a lot of legislative moves that are being pushed through on an emergency certification type of system.
Now, this is almost like a full-time quest because, you got this going on across the country here. People are trying to do some of these emergency actions. So do you have a staff that's paying attention to all this?
Yeah. Well, we are working with other local organizations. What we decided to do is our first organization we did hook up with was an organization in Connecticut, like I said, because we were founded here. It's called CCDL, which is Connecticut Citizens Defense League, and you can see their website at ccdl.us. But they were the first organization we hooked up with, and we decided that it was the best way to do it, to actually work with other grassroots organizations in each individual state, because they are the ones that are going to know what legislation is in their particular state that's up for issue. Mm-hmm. So that's how we decided to do that.
Okay. Now, in what you're doing, did you feel some kind of possibility of a particular label or a particular threat that, a Second Amendment right to those that are disabled or handicapped would not be able to, protect their own Second Amendment rights?
Yes. The whole thing started, like I said, with the legislation in Connecticut. They started to introduce various bills and things that started calling certain firearms assault weapons. And we all know there really is no such thing an assault weapon as an assault weapon. Thank God
you're saying that. I've been saying that.
It is a completely made-up term by certain media organizations that was invented around 1994, if I believe I have that date right. That was to get other regulations passed at that time in other states such as California. But since then, all the tragedies that pop up, everybody seems to throw in that term. So that's why we initially got stalled, because in Connecticut, believe it or not, we have some pretty strict gun rules. It's very strict in order to have a firearm here. It's not like some states where it's very simple. It's very strict. The background check, it takes a long time. People don't realize that. And so when they started throwing around the thing with assault weapons, we knew there was going to be a problem. We had found out, and this was just from my own investigations, because and I'll explain that in a minute. But we knew that there was certain disabled Americans that could only hold certain rifles or certain firearms, and one of them being the AR-15 type platform. Obviously, the AR-15 isn't just one rifle. It's every company has their own version of it, but it's built on the same platform. So when we learned that they were trying to just ban that platform, we became very concerned, because it's just there are literally thousands upon thousands of disabled firearm owners that can only hold that type of firearm, just because it's so adjustable. There's so many things you can do with that firearm. It allows the disabled individual to adjust the firearm around their disability. And to take that away from them is now taking away their Second Amendment right in a roundabout way.
No, not in a roundabout way. In an in-your-face way. Correct.
What's that? I'm sorry?
I said it wasn't necessarily in a roundabout way. It's an in-your-face kind of method.
Well, yeah, it is an in-your-face way. It is an in-your-face way. It was.
Say it like
I don't
there,
think. I hope that wasn't their first. I don't think it was their first intention is to go after disabled people in general. I think it was the first intention to go after that firearm and to go after Americans in general that hold the Second Amendment right close to themselves. But because of that, we just wanted it to be known that disabled Americans that are firearms owners are also in the boat just as much as every other American right now.
Sure. For those that have various disabilities, they certainly don't have the methods to an escape that others without disabilities do have, and so
exactly.
A firearm might be your only method.
No, exactly, and where somebody that you hit the nail right on the head is where somebody without a certain disability might be able to escape. You're definitely right. Someone with a certain disability may not have that opportunity to escape, so their threat level is raised even higher for that person. And because of that, like I said, for them to ban certain firearms just because of aesthetics and because they're adaptable is literally putting the risk on thousands of disabled Americans. It's a shame. It's a shame that they won't even investigate. They won't even investigate that issue. They're afraid to investigate that issue. We actually, during the first set of hearings in Connecticut, which I attended and testified at there were certain people that are on that task force, and I'm actually appalled by this. It gets my blood boiling. There were certain people on that task force that were supposed to be listening to everyone's testimony, and while they were listening to testimony, instead they were on Facebook and on Twitter conducting all types of games. Like one person was conducting drinking games when people were testifying, and then that bothered me. And then someone sent me. I actually saw transcripts of some things that people were talking about, and there was actually at the time, I don't know if this person is still in that position, but at the time there was a person who is in charge of disability rights for the state of Connecticut. They actually made some nasty comments during my testimony because it was regarding disabled people, and that is the type of stuff that we as Americans and we as disabled Americans that have firearm rights as well, just like everyone else does, has to face every day. They don't want to hear. They just don't want to hear that that's even a possibility. They don't want to even entertain that. So that's why we decided to ramp up and go more voicious with our campaign.
Now, how long have you been doing this, Scott?
Well, we started this organization around the end of the summer, but it was nothing to do with legislation. It wasn't until we started seeing these emergency certifications getting pushed forward is when we started to get into the legislative aspect. But no, this was founded so disabled Americans could learn about firearms, so they can exercise their Second Amendment right, so they can be involved in shooting programs. Obviously, the NRA has many shooting programs for them, but we wanted some more for them. like I said, and it wasn't until this emergency legislation started being passed all around the country, not just Connecticut. We decided that this is it's uncalled for. It's just knee-jerk reactions to tragedies are not ways to pass laws. They actually hurts more people in the end than it does to protecting them.
And how is this being received? I mean, is this gaining some real speed?
Well, I can't tell you that we were astounded by the receipt. Just within a couple months, our Facebook has gone through the roof. We have 12,000 fans on Facebook in 2 months, and on Twitter, it's 72,000 followers on Twitter that have come to us. Now, we've been on NRA's radio show, Cam and Company, and they actually, believe it or not, they helped us out pretty good with that, and I do have to give Cam and Company and the NRA News, I do have to give them their thank yous. And also, like I said before, the CCDL, which is the Connecticut Civilian Defense League, you can see the president is Scott Wilson, doing an amazing job in Connecticut, and not just in Connecticut. Other states are actually contacting them so they can get assistance as well. Scott is doing an excellent job. Their
now,
website
what is CCDL? I mean, what
kind
of
CCDL is the Connecticut Civilians Defense League, and you can see them. You can visit their website. It's ccdl.us, and they are a grassroots organization, like the same organizations that we reach out to in other states to find out what legislation and what's going on in each of the states.
Well,
they are the ones in Connecticut.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
Okay. They're mostly on the legislative side.
Yeah, well, no, actually, no. They started like us, I believe, that they were originally not just for legislative issues. They were originally just for every person's Second Amendment right, just like a local kind of firearms club kind of thing, and it just expanded. And because of all these things that come up, Scott's just taken it to another level. He really has done a good job with that, and we appreciate that.
Okay, because I'm looking at it now. It almost looks like
I'm putting all your various links in the chat room as we're talking, Scott, or as you and Denise are talking, because I've got, I put the YouTube up there, everything, and I found the CCD like she did, and I'm putting these links out. And I want you to realize you're getting a good group of people. A lot of people have a lot of questions about this, and somebody was asking a question about, I think he had a problem with his hip or his leg. I think, with all the information, giving him your Facebook page, Twitter, the site, and everything else, you might have a few people calling in and getting interested from just where you're at right now, let alone the archives when it happens.
Yeah, so. we do appreciate that, and like I said, we now from Disabled Americans for Firearms Rights. Our job, our mission, is to assist disabled people that want to exercise their Second Amendment right, that aren't doing it yet. And also to assist people that are already Second Amendment rights followers and shooters and firearms owners. If they are having problems in their state with certain legislation would affect them, because I would almost guarantee if they looked it up, there is something going on in their state. In every state there is. We encourage people to look and see what legislation is up for firearms rights. And if something doesn't strike you well, then please, by all means, contact us at www.dafr.org. It's dafr.org, and we will be very happy to assist you and be your voice if needed. So legislation is not passed.
It works both ways. I mean, we're here to be your voice too. Now, you've got a Facebook page and you've got a website, and I even see Bobby over there.
And Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. Now, where do you go from here?
As far as right now, actually, I'm getting ready to go to. I believe it's in a few states. I've actually been called by a couple different organizations in other states to help them testify in their states, individual things. So that's what I'm ramping up to do now. I'm actually getting ready to do something with Indiana. And also I was contacted by somebody from Washington State. Now, I hear that you guys are in Washington State yourself. Am I correct in that? Or
Bobby's in Washington.
I'm here now.
Okay, you're in Washington State. Okay.
Yeah,
Somebody actually... an organization actually contacted us from Washington State and wanted us to send some testimony in regarding disabled individuals with. So we're working on that. But yes, we have we have things going on with almost every state where there's legislation coming up. That's why I was about to mention if there's anyone in a state that needs help with something, just please contact us and we will definitely help you out with that. That's what we're here for.
I mean, the first part of our show was actually on legislation. Now, are you participating in some of the text of this legislation, or, are you just tracking it and opposing it or for it, depending upon what it is?
Yeah, we are tracking certain legislation that is around, that other grassroots organizations in each individual state would send us. We track that, and when we learn about that state's, the organizations in that state, what their concerns are, we see how that relates to our organization, Disable Americans Firearms Rights, and then we in turn will send either testimony or our voice, our recommendations, what we would like to see, to whatever task force or whatever legislative body that is in that state. So they can know where we stand on that. Now, if they utilize that, or if they even take that into consideration, well, who knows? That is on them. But I can tell you that there are, believe it or not, there are a few states. I don't want to name which ones are now, but there are a few states that have looked into what we've said and are trying to work with us, and that are working with us on certain things. And I wish more state legislators would even attempt, but the majority of them, they just do not. They just don't want to hear anything. It's like it's like they've closed everyone off. And
what's been your biggest opposition, your biggest obstacle, Scott?
To be honestly, it's in our home state in Connecticut. Believe it or not. Like I said, the thing with the managing director of the Connecticut Disability Rights Organization, which was that really threw us for a loop when we saw some things that were said by that person. But in Connecticut, it's almost it's very hard to actually to talk to these people. I mean, some of them are very, very nice and they're very respectful, and they had no idea about this, the disabled aspect of that of certain laws and how it affects certain disabled people, disabled individuals. But now some of them have come around, but there's like no middle of the road there. There's either someone is very helpful for you, or they just don't want to even hear you. They won't even acknowledge that you exist, and that is the problem that we've come up with. And to be honest with you, Connecticut, our home state, is probably the number one worst. Not counting California out. California's pretty tough too, but Connecticut is being very, very difficult with certain things.
Well, I mean, you're kind of at ground zero here. I mean, your state was the one that is obviously had the toughest incident here, and so you're clearly at ground zero.
Yes, well, we are at ground zero, but I do want to let everyone know that, because I heard some things when you mention the state of Connecticut, people say a lot of things, bad things about it. But believe it or not, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of fellow patriots, just like yourselves, that are very, very adamant about not passing any legislation just due to knee-jerk reactions. I wanted to let you know that there are, like I said, thousands, and to learn more about them, you could, like I said, you could see the CCDL website. They're pretty much the local, the state of Connecticut's arm of that. But
what you noticed, Scott, that I didn't even say anything bad about it, having lived there. The only thing I noticed was that they say the Thames River instead of the Thames. But that's, not wanting to owe any allegiance to old Great Britain, so I understand that. But it's a beautiful state, and I wonder, though, have you anyone there in the group that has gotten Lyme disease, and that has given them the need to be a member of the group as well?
Yes, like I said, we literally have thousands. I think our last member count nationwide was like 14,300 and some odd people that have joined our organization. In Connecticut, it was in the multiple thousands. I'm not sure the exact number, but from disabilities from all types of from all ranges, from arthritis in their wrist, they can't hold certain rifles when they go out, so they need that pistol grip on their stock to be able just to hold their rifle. Some of these Americans are disabled veterans that that they just can't hold a certain firearm anymore, so they pick the AR-15 type rifle platform. Like I said, we all know it's adjustable. You can adjust the stock, and the evil multi-function adjustable stock, that no, they don't want anybody to have. Well, do they realize that disabled Americans adjust that because they might not be able to straighten their arm all the way, so they adjust that stock so they can fit the rifle around themselves? Or like I said, the pistol grip. Do they realize that certain disabled Americans can't hold a regular rifle stock, so they need to have that pistol grip? Or sometimes, the fore-end grip under the barrel. They need the vertical grip. Like, that's where it actually is myself. That is my own issue. I can't physically turn my hand over to hold a rifle underneath the front part of the stock. So I use a vertical grip on an AR-15 type rifle in order to safely hold the firearm. And so because of that, does that mean that those disabled Americans are any more apt to go commit crimes because they have that type of rifle? It's absurd. It's absurd.
Absolutely. Hey,
now,
you guys,
in your organization...
Wait. Let me take a break early. Let's catch the commercial real quick, get it over with, okay?
All right. Gotta go pay some bills.
Can you hang on just for a second, Scott?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, great. Let me go and do that right now and stuff, because I figure if we get that out of the way, we're all good. 1 minute and 51 seconds, guys.
Citizens should be aware that our great republic is floundering under the heavy weight of socialism. In light of our trampled Constitution, lack of adherence to our laws as written, and an overreaching government imposing its will over ours as American citizens, we the people have lost the structure of our republic, and thus our freedoms and liberties as we know them. We must correct this travesty right now, or lose America forever. We must prepare for the likely chaos of a collapsing economy and join hands. We must become watchmen over our country, each and every one of us.
WatchmenofAmerica.com, the Patriot solution to securing our nation. Join us in making a difference.
All done. Well, that's good. I'll tell you what. I was just afraid I'd get knocked off and then I wouldn't be able to do it. So I want to make sure it got in there before this night ended.
Good girl. Good girl. Now, Scott, I wanted to ask you what kind of activities. I mean, I see where you've got shooting competitions and those kinds of things. Can you describe some of those for us?
Yes, actually, when we haven't been around that long. We've only been around since about the end of the summer. We were just starting right around November, beginning of December. We were just starting to put those competitions together to have them come to fruition around the United States. We're working with some people in Florida to have something done in Florida. We're working with some people in Connecticut to have something done here. And right as we were starting to do that, the legislative stuff hit the fan. So we had to kind of put that on the. We had to slow down with that a little bit, just because this is, without, if there's crazy legislation is passed, there won't be any shooting sports competitions to go to anymore. So that's why we put a little pause on that, and now ramped up our legislative actions on things.
Okay, so then what were some of the and what are some of the things that you have in fact planned when some of this stuff settles?
Yeah, we have shooting sports competitions for disabled people all around the United States in the works. Like I said, we are working with some bigger organizations in Florida right now we were around December that hold competitions already, but we are going to add disabled shooting competitions to their events. Mm-hmm. Just our goal was to get as many disabled Americans that want to exercise their Second Amendment right but never thought they could or had problems obtaining permits for whatever reason, maybe even because of their disability. Our goal is to assist them in any way we can so they can exercise their Second Amendment right. I mean, it is every American's Second Amendment right to own a firearm. It's their right to bear arms, and that includes disabled Americans as well. And a lot of the time, disabled Americans are just not thought about and considered as much as they should be. They are Americans as well. They're not second-rate Americans. They are Americans just like every other American, including our president and vice president and everybody down the chain. They are Americans just like them. And so they need to be able to exercise their right just like anyone else would. And that's why we were basically founded on that.
And so the PR for this, I mean, how it's been received pretty well, and are you kind of on a educational kind of quest too with all of this?
Yes, we are on. That is actually, I think, it's the fifth step in our thing. Yeah, we want to educate the general public. So obviously, when I first started talking to legislators in Connecticut, going back to Connecticut, this is where we're founded. But when we first started to talk to legislators in Connecticut, some of their reactions were that honestly they never thought about it. They never realized this was an aspect. They had no idea. So because of that, we made it part of our mission is to educate the general public and our elected officials on that issue, is how disabled Americans are affected, how they have special needs regarding firearms rights sometimes. But in general, PR from the general public is incredible. It's great. We have been received by the general public. Every American that we've contacted has been very nice to us. Even people that are on the opposition that are very, very seriously pro-gun control have been very, very open to hearing things. I can't tell you how many emails and calls I've received from people explaining that, again, they never realized.
Never gave it a thought.
And they never thought about it like that. And maybe it is a little too strict, some of the things that are coming down. Like I said, some of the biggest opposition was not from the people. It is from certain legislators that have certain agendas. And that is what really is a shame. It really is a shame. It's not the people, it's the elected officials that the people elected. That's where the problem is.
So, where do you go from here, Scott? I mean,
we just keep continuing to do what we do, and we are thankful for organizations and outlets like yourself. Like I said, Cam and Company. We were on Cam and Company a couple weeks ago. Just different organizations out there. Our goal is to get on as many of them as we can and reach out to as many elected officials as we can to let them know that we are here and we represent a certain aspect of the American citizen that a lot of people just don't represent or aren't even realized about. So our goal is to get the word out as much as possible and be everywhere to let people know, so we can educate the general public and we can educate the elected officials about this issue.
Where are you getting the most cooperation?
What's that?
Where are you getting the most cooperation?
Most cooperation, like I said, is the people. When we talk to normal Americans about this, they are very, very, very very gracious to us and very open arms. And like I said, even individuals that are very, very pro-gun control have been very open and have agreed to sit down with us. I've sat down with a few of them. They are very, very open to what we are saying. Like I said, other fellow organizations like ourselves, other organizations like your organization and your outlet have been very, very nice and gracious to us and tell the whole story. Not many news organizations, for obvious reasons. They just only want to hear and see one side of it for whatever reason. We all know what that reason probably is, but without stating that, it doesn't matter. But that is probably a bigger obstacle, and so is and certain elected officials. That's the biggest obstacle that we have encountered.
Scott, I've got an idea for you. Now,
yeah.
What I'm going to do tonight, of course, I love to blog about the show and who we have on and all that good stuff. But I have a thought for you, and it's just the way I think. I always try to put situations together. Now, you realize that there are, 40 to 50 gun manufacturers right now that are not selling to the government, so to speak, for certain...
Yeah, I think the last count was 52, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, it's actually higher than that. It's actually went up yesterday, I think. We're about at 62, I think.
Well,
oh, wow.
My thought is, now this is going to sound strange, and this is just, people are getting to hear how I think, but if you could get your logo out there and poll the people in your organization and put it out there with a sticker. If anybody has modified one of the guns from one of those manufacturers, say, this one is approved by this many members, and send each of those companies an award kind of thing, or with your decal or your logo, and let them know that you support them. And it's just, I see a snowball thing. I see something big out of that. It's just another avenue for you if you should choose to go that direction. It's just an idea.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, but we have actually talked to a few organizations. As you know, many people know that, believe it or not, Connecticut is a big gun manufacturer state, or
yes.
At least it was. We'll
right.
see what happens. We will see what happens in the end game of things. But I think you're going to see a lot of them move out of the state of Connecticut. And it's a lot of lost tax revenue for our state. But believe it or not, the state is host to numerous firearms manufacturers and accessory manufacturers come out of here, and even ones that aren't out of here. The actual manufacturer is here, and they're actually manufactured here, but sold and marketed through other companies in other states. So you might buy something from another company that it looks like they may be in South Dakota, but in reality that product is manufactured in Connecticut and just sold to that other company in South Dakota. So my point is that, yes, we started by working with certain firearms manufacturers in Connecticut, but that is a very good idea. We need to think about taking it to the next level with that and doing that approved by thing. That's a very, very, very good idea. We're going to take that up at the next meeting there. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, sure. The reason I think of that is because we have had on some well-known manufacturers, Kelly from
McMillan.
McMillan down there in Arizona, when they had the situation with B of A and not taking their payment, and because they manufactured guns.
Their bank accounts.
Yeah, and we had a couple other ones. They're fabulous. They want this kind of cooperation, enticement. They want happiness out there in the field. That's what we need. This is not a weapon of mass destruction like the government issues. This is something that we personally can take care of, And
definitely.
I'm excited by. I mean, when I stumbled across, what I did was I stumbled across your YouTube, and I was looking at it, and I was listening to your whole testimony, and I'm like, my God, how many people, NRA members, Watchmen of America, 912ers, Tea Partiers, everybody has thought about it. I mean, every group thing that I've been to, there's always someone who's disabled, And sometimes throughout the year, I personally am disabled by not Lyme disease, but valley fever. And, you know, never thought about it. Never thought about it. And I'm sorry to say, and you woke me up, and you made me smile, and I said, oh, my God, there's somebody that's taking care of another group that we didn't even address.
No, definitely, and I appreciate that, and that was actually my goal, was to bring that to fruition like that. But that's why when not to go back to a negative, because that was such a very positive thing you just said, and I really appreciate that, and I look forward to maybe working with you on that. As far as that aspect is concerned with the firearms manufacturer, that's a great idea, and I really do appreciate that idea, and
sure.
I look to investigate that. But that's why, like I said, not to go back to a negative, but when the testimony was going on in Connecticut, and there was people watching from literally all around the United States, because it was the first big hearing besides the New York fiasco with the the crazy passing of their bill. But it was the first big hearing, and it came out of Connecticut. On January 28th regarding gun control. We knew the nation would be watching. And when thousands and thousands and thousands of responsible firearms owners testified in favor of just having the current laws that are there, because Connecticut's very restrictive, and then when I testified, and when certain legislators and people that are involved with the state made nasty comments, it really, they thought that it would slow us down, but it sped us up even more. And I keep this person's words on my desktop so I can see them every time I use my computer. So it keeps me focused even more with our mission. The things, it's just really, I'm appalled that the person who said this, because of their job. I'm just appalled, because they're the ones that are supposed to be speaking for disabled people, but yet they're the ones that were totally the nastiest of the nasty, if we can put it like that. But,
Scott, if disabled were not using firearms for self-protection, what other options are they using, or have they considered, or are they doing anything? They're just waiting on 911 first responders.
Pretty much. I mean, there are programs out there, and actually we're investigating this now. This is something new we haven't added to our mission yet, but there are self-defense programs out there for disabled individuals, and a lot of people have come forward and offered their services for us, and we thank them for that. And pretty soon you're going to see some information come out from us about that. But unless the person, like I said, if the person, a disabled person has a firearm, I don't want to say evens things a little bit, but it does in a way. I mean, if someone is disabled and cannot fight for themselves, that a lot of times the only protection they have is that firearm, and that is what the Second Amendment is made for. It's to protect people that cannot. It's protect against tyranny, obviously, but it's also to protect yourself from deadly harm. I mean, if God forbid, I mean, there's thousands of cases where disabled are taken advantage of physically. I mean, thousands. Thousands, and it's unfortunate. And you don't hear about a lot. You don't hear a lot about that either. You don't hear about, people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that that's an issue as well. And because of that, many thousands and tens of thousands of disabled Americans wish to exercise their Second Amendment right, and to take that away from them is just taking another level of protection away from one they're already one level of protection down in certain ways. So why take another level of protection away from them? It's absurd for me to actually, that people would actually address that and to actually consider that.
Well, the whole thing is boiled down to legislators at the federal, state, and local level have got an unwritten doctrine that they have the power to determine what citizens need. Okay? You know, you got Bloomberg over there saying you can't have 16-ounce drinks. You don't need a 16-ounce drink. Okay? Well, that's like saying I don't need a quart of milk. I can, a gallon of milk. I can do it with a quart of milk. Well, they're going to tell you that you don't need, you being anybody, don't need a firearm. Especially they're doing this thing to women too. I mean, they're saying, oh, well, you need to run, or you need to tell them that you've got, some, STD disease, or you need to pee on them, or all these ridiculous things.
Ridiculous. It does not work.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Or call a call box. Well, call boxes, I haven't seen any. That's a response to something. Well, I guarantee you by the time the responder gets there, whatever the event was going on has already happened. So they didn't prevent anything. So it comes down to the power that the legislators have is an aphrodisiac for them, because they get to determine what we need. That's a problem. And I see that from your aspect of those people that are handicapped. They're telling you guys, we didn't even determine what your needs were. I mean, you were already dismissed before the debate even got started. And so you're doing fabulous work just trying to make this a marquee issue now.
I appreciate that, and you're definitely right. Well, a lot of people, yes, the government, without getting on, I don't want to get on a crazy government tangent, but yes, I do agree that the government, in some ways, are overstepping their bounds a lot. And I think it was Chris Rock, I guess, the other day. I don't want to give him too much airtime play, but he's got enough. But was it Chris Rock the other day or a couple weeks ago? At a press conference, actually said, the president is like your dad of the nation.
Yeah,
your dad.
yeah.
And well, I hate to say it. No matter, I don't care who the president is. I don't care if it was Mitt Romney, Barack Obama, Ron Paul, or whoever it may be. The president is not my dad. I have one dad. That's my dad. It's not the government's job to tell me, at least as far as my opinion, it's not the government's job to tell me. Like how much soda you can drink, or how much.
What's good for you and what's not.
What's good for me and what's not. Don't feed your dog, wet dog food more than 2 times a week or something crazy. Who to know? Who's to know where it ends? So that's why it shouldn't even begin, because the end, you cannot foresee an end. So there should never even be a beginning to that.
Precisely.
So where does it end? No one can ever tell you where it ends. So yes, I agree.
Well, there is no end. Once it gets started,
you never know what it could be. Exactly. So yes, I agree with you in that aspect of it. Also, another thing that people don't realize is that a Supreme Court case out of D.C., I believe it was D.C. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact case by wording, but I know that a Supreme Court case in D.C. found it that the police's job is not to. Now, I love the police. I love police. I love the police department. I love police departments. A lot of police members in my family. We have a long heritage of being in the police departments all around the United States, both federal and local. But I can tell you that we all know, or we should know, that the police's job is not primarily to prevent crime. And that was actually just held up, I don't know how many years ago, but it was held up in a D.C. Supreme Court case revolving, I believe it was a rape or attempted rape or something, and the police were sued, and then it was found out that the police are not here to prevent crimes. Their job is to take care of the crime after, to investigate the crime afterwards, and arrest people that possibly did the crime. And it's the court's job, to obviously find out if the person is guilty or not. But the police's primary job is not to prevent crimes that happen. Obviously, you can argue that and say there's crime prevention things that happen now, and neighborhood crime patrols, things along those lines, and that's great. And yes, they do work to some extent. But in the majority of things, when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and some guy crawls through your window, second floor window, not everyone's house has a police officer watching your second floor window to see who's crawling in it at night. So that's why that's like that. Their job is to come after you call 911, and
they clean up the mess.
That's right. And by the time you call 911 and they get there, any plethora of things can happen. There's hundreds of thousands of cases that you can see that have gone good, where the person had a firearm and protected themselves, and there's hundreds of thousands of cases where the person did not have a firearm and it went very bad. So, I agree with you on that issue where, yes, police, the primary job is not to prevent the crime, although when they can, it's great. It works out great, but majority of the time it just does not happen. And I don't think the American public realizes that.
Well, we've had it on this show a couple of times. I mean, we literally talk about the fact that, law enforcement, there's a lot of good guys out there. There's a lot of good SWAT teams. There's a lot of good dedicated agencies that are out there, okay? Definitely. But for the most part, I can tell you that you can probably would actually be staggered to know the number of law enforcement police officers that retired and never fired their weapon. Okay, they're not trained.
Oh, yes.
And then when they go to exactly, and then when they go to a range, they go there during the day. And if they go under duress because they don't get paid for it. They're supposed to be doing it on their own time. Well, most crimes happen at night. So they're not skilled and trained to do what they need to do to defend or protect. I mean, it's kind of a misnomer.
I agree to an extent. I do agree with that. I know that yes, there are many departments. There are tens of thousands of police departments around the United States. But yes, majority of those are not. They are not like bigger organizations like, say, the NYPD or the LAPD or
right.
any other major metropolitan police department that has trainings like that. They just don't.
Right.
We see these things on TV where of SWAT team trainings and things like this, or wow, these guys must train all the time, constantly. Well, yes, what we're seeing is ones that do train like that all the time, and there are, like you said, thousands and thousands of great departments that do a lot of training, but then again, there are thousands and thousands that just don't.
Anything.
And it's maybe not their fault. It might be they don't have funding or whatever reason. Whatever that reason may be, does not matter. It just matters that it just doesn't happen. I can't say that from my local police department here where I live. They are actually very, very good, which is I'm glad that they're very good because I live in this community. But but not everybody is up to the same standards, and maybe that's something they should look at too. It's not my call to say that, but I think that it is a big part of it. I think that you're right. There maybe needs to be more training with that in certain organizations.
Well,
yes.
It comes down to that sheriff, and to the sheriff, what he said. I think it was the one in Wisconsin that said, we don't have the funds anymore. We can't do this and we can't do that. So I'm here to tell you, the best thing you can do is get a concealed carry and learn some self-reliance and learn how to use a firearm because funds are cut. Blah 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 blah.
Exactly.
And so what you're doing and what we try and say here, certainly, it's about self-reliance.
No, definitely, and I don't think that. I mean, you could believe in God, and you don't believe in God. That doesn't matter. But I can tell you that I don't think that however we are on this planet, however we got here, or whatever, it doesn't matter. That I don't think that whoever put us here, or whoever wants us here, or however we get, I don't think they would want us to count on one organization to do everything for you. I don't. What happened to? I don't know where it changed to where personal responsibility went out the window. I don't know. It boggles my mind when that actually happened. But I can remember growing up, and if you did something, you did something wrong. You did something wrong was you. You were the guy that did something wrong. It wasn't the entire neighborhood that did something wrong. I don't. Where it changed to where you start punishing a majority of people for a few persons' actions it's absurd to me. I can't grasp that for some reason. I don't know.
Well, thank you for saying it. It's exactly right. I mean, the people that are law-abiding weapons owners, you tend to find them very considerate people, respectful people, law-abiding people, and they work pretty diligently at their esprit de corps, and what goes on in Chicago and what goes on in L.A. and so that isn't the case, and the good people are getting blamed. They're taking the blowback from this. I mean, for every action there's a reaction, and it seems like the good weapons owners are we're being persecuted here.
Hey, you guys, both of you, I want to talk to you, both of you, a minute about this. Scott, I want to send you a link, and Denise, it's going to be your link that you wrote for General, say his last name, I can never say it.
Vallely.
Okay, website at Stand Up America. The reason being is, and Scott, I don't know that this is to be true and if this can help you in any way, shape, or form or not, but they're doing some research over the weekend. It seems that there's a document, how I'm sure you've heard of the letters going out to all the veterans and everything. Well, there's actually a document that foreshadows that document and how they're using it, and I think that they would probably be, hitting the disabled American veterans the same way with that document.
That's in there. I put it in there when I did that blog.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to send him that link in an email so that you can see that, Scott. It's something you really need to get with on that, too, okay?
No, very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Sure. Now I'll let you guys wind up because we got about 7 minutes or so, and then we got to go.
Scott, what else can we do for you here? I mean, we got to scratch each other's backs here. So,
of course.
What else can we do? I mean,
if we can get everybody to just like I said, we appreciate that. That idea that you guys had about the working with the firearms manufacturers, very, very good, and we're going to take that to heart. Also, if we could get people to just go to our website, learn about at DAFR.org. That's DAFR.org. So they can learn about what our organization is and educate themselves on what we do and educate themselves about how firearms legislation and affects disabled people and how the Second Amendment right affects disabled individuals as well.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get people to go there and check out our website now, and if you're disabled or even if you're not disabled, if you're a disabled firearms owner or if you're not a disabled firearms owner, just a firearms owner, pro-Second Amendment person in general, you can join our organization for free. Like I said, it doesn't cost you anything. Just join our organization for free. You can join right there on our webpage, and then we will. It helps us out even more. It enables us to push forward and keep our mission going forward with that. And we appreciate you having us on, and we hope that. You would have us on again. We would love to talk to you again about other things.
Absolutely. Our lines are always open. Everybody, it's an open door here. Everybody's welcome. Are you getting any cooperation from the gun stores, from the retailers?
Yes, actually, we just started doing that. Like I said, we were so busy with the Connecticut legislation, and we have over 100. I think it was 125 bills that popped up. Since December. That's just an obscene amount of bills that have popped just in our state that have popped up for.
Oh my God! I didn't realize
it's insane, and that is only in our state, by the way. Yes, it's insane the amount of bills. So we have to look at every one very, very, very closely, and it takes a lot of our time. We have a lot of volunteers that do that for us and things like that. But yes, we've just started going to local gun stores and talking with them, and within the next couple weeks, you're going to see even more of that, and hopefully you're going to start seeing more of that on a national level. Like I said, we started to work with other grassroots organizations in other individual states that are helping us with that.
Awesome. Okay, good deal. Well, we've absolutely enjoyed having you. It's a real pleasure to have people that are well read and current and active and high energy and sane.
Yeah.
So we wish you Godspeed in all of this for sure. It's been a real learning experience. I know that you've got an awful lot of listeners out here that are that are high energy and waiting to get on that same bandwagon to give you as much traction with this thing as you can possibly give it. It was a pleasure meeting you. I appreciate your time that you spent with us tonight, because it was a real learning experience.
I'm just
thank you very much.
We could get you so easily, and I'm sure you're just going to be hammered real soon. I can tell, and I'm actually going to refer one of my son-in-laws to you, because he's a disabled American veteran and a paratrooper who had a back injury, and it has caused him some stress, and I think he needs to know about you, so I'll be working with him this weekend, because we have an NRA dinner on Friday night, too. Up here.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah, ours is coming up in about a month, so I can't wait for that exactly. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, send him our way. We'll definitely, if you can give him my personal email, I will send him personal. I will talk to him personally about things. So.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Scott. I will do so.
No problem. Thank you. Again, thank you both.
All right, well, come back anytime. We'll certainly stay in touch. We'll stay close to your activities, and we'll just, keep prodding each other along until some of these problems just kind of go away, and then we march on to the next one.
Exactly. There's always going to be something.
That's exactly right. We appreciate your time, and it was so much fun having you. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we certainly appreciate Scott and Gerald. It was a fascinating couple hours here, really learning some things. I hope you got something out of it as well. We've given you some websites. I think Bobby has dumped them all into the chat room, so please make sure that you share them far and wide. It's important that we're on a learning quest here, and then when we learn it, we got to teach it to somebody else. So our work is never done. Big thanks to Scott and Gerald tonight. Make sure that you turn in tomorrow night, please, for Watchman Wednesday. That's always a very spirited, educational, and fun hours. Don't make sure that you don't miss that. In the meantime, we appreciate you being with us tonight. We love our fans. And we'll see you on the other side. In the meantime, have a good week, and God bless America.
And we're going to go out with Alabama, I'm in a Hurry.
I'm in a hurry to get things done, oh, I rush until life's no fun. All I really gotta do is live and die, but I'm in a hurry and don't know why. Don't know why. I have to drive so fast, my car has nothing to prove. It's not you, but it'll do 0 to